I started looking at the presentation, we were reworking some things, and that actually was the first time I'd ever given the class. So yeah, hopefully today will be a little bit better than it was before. So thank you, George. Like Ian said, my name's Todd Keathley, and I work for Portland Fire. Been there 24 years. Been a battalion chief the last 8 years, and am currently the safety chief. And one of the reasons why I'm here today is I've done a lot of teaching on strategies and tactics, because when I was a new company officer, that's the thing that really kept me up at night. I thought, boy, I'm going to be the first in. I'm going to pull up on something big, and they're all going to be waiting for me to give direction, and I was concerned about that. And so after being a company officer and a captain and a battalion chief, I can tell you that the stuff that I've lost sleep over has nothing to do with the fire ground. And I also realized that in the fire service, I don't think we give you the skills or the information or the knowledge that you need to deal with people, which is a huge part of what we all do. So I went from the strategies and tactics, and I started reading about leadership. I started taking some classes. I started reading some more. In fact, I've read more than I care to admit to. And when I got done, I thought, you know what? I've got some information here that I think could make people's job a lot easier, or their jobs a lot easier. And what I'll share with you today is some of that information. I'll share with you some of my mistakes. I'll share with you some of my successes. I think I've got a couple of them to talk about. But I want this to be very informal. I have information that I brought today that I want to share with you, but I want to hear from you as well. And so what I'd like to do just to get started is to just quickly go through the room, name, organization, and are we all from the same organization, Forest Grove and Cornelius, correct? Okay, so we can skip that one. Your position, and then I want you to tell me what you think leadership is. What is it? Okay? Can we start over here? He's got a mouthful of pepperoni here, so you don't have to stand up. You can just sit.
I'll sit down then.
Okay. Yeah.
My name is Sean Harris, obviously with Cornelius Fire here. I'm a firefighter. And what else do you want to know? What is leadership?
What is leadership?
Leadership is, to me at least, is the ability to inspire those who you, I guess, are underneath you, your subordinates, to inspire them and to also direct them in the right path, or whatever path that they choose to go.
To take. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Derek Cardelli with Cornelius Fire. Leadership, I think, to me is being a good example on duty and off duty.
Okay. Does the off-duty stuff get us in trouble? You know, it's funny, we come to work and we spend a lot of time on customer service and making sure that we treat the public well, but yet off-duty we have things happen, and those are the things that end up in the paper, and in my opinion, those are the things that really give us a black eye. So you're exactly right. We're, unfortunately or fortunately, we're firefighters 24/7, so thank you.
My name is Tommy Eisler. I'm a volunteer with Forest Grove, and I think leadership to me means that just based on your actions, if they're positive, people are going to want to follow you and do what you do. And when you talk, people are going to want to listen. And I think those are signs of leadership.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Trevor Storms, intern with Cornelius. And somebody guiding other people in the right direction. Like you were saying.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Chief? Okay, I'll skip the chief. Okay, we'll go. Okay. You'll go last. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, we'll go right here then.
That's a prime example of delegation.
Yeah, there you go.
My name is Rob Markoff. I'm a battalion chief. To me, leadership is really taking care of your people. And part of that is not asking them to do anything that you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Part of that, lead by example. And, and also showing them respect for their abilities, recognizing them.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. George?
For me, I think it's I've heard it once already, but it's an inspirational thing. I think I would like to be able to inspire my people to be the best they can be and do everything I can to make sure that they can get there. And something else I wanted
Okay. Inspire your people.
Yeah, basically
Okay.
inspirational.
Okay.
And I want them to be better than I ever was. You know,
Yeah.
my job is to train my replacements so
Sure.
they can do better than I did.
Absolutely. Thank you. Right here.
Andrew Jensen, Cornelius Fire. I would just say, you know, along with everything else everyone else has said, you want to strive to be that person. I think that other people should want to strive to be you, see things that you've done great, mistakes you've made, things you've learned from. That way, everyone can grow on that. And
Yeah.
you want to be, you know, to be.
You know, it's funny, we talk about wanting to be that really successful leader, and the question I have for you is, do you want to pay the price? There are people that I've seen in our organization, and I think, you know, he just has a presence about him. He doesn't particularly talk a lot, but when he does talk, people listen. And what I had to realize is that that individual wasn't that leader at the beginning. Colin Powell wasn't Colin Powell at the very beginning. Norman Schwarzkopf wasn't Norman Schwarzkopf at the very beginning. They've paid a price. They have suffered through some challenging circumstances and situations. They've had successes, they've had failures, just like all of us are going to have. So if you aren't successful at leadership, that doesn't mean that, that you're not going to be. But just keep in mind that there's a price to pay to be a good leader. It's a lot of work.
My name is Garth Culbertson. I'm a volunteer firefighter with Cornelius. In addition to what everybody else has said, a leader is somebody you can talk to. Whether it be something that happened on the fire ground or something small that's going on in the station.
Yeah.
Somebody you can talk to, confide in.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Over here.
My name is Phil Duncan. I'm a lieutenant with Cornelius. To me, leadership is getting people to do things, do the right thing, better at their job, not because you tell them what to do, but because they want to do it, because it's something that either you've made them a better person or you've helped them be a better person where they can make their own decisions and they aspire to be better, not just because you told them to.
Right. Right. Thank you.
It's Chad Farber. I'm a volunteer firefighter with Cornelius. The leadership means to me is somebody who can give direction, provide guidance, and is trustworthy.
Okay. Is trust important? Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk more about that.
Hi, my name is James Callahan. I'm an intern firefighter at Cornelius. I agree with the other guys. I think a leader needs to be somebody who inspires you. I also think it's somebody who can, you know, identify your character and play with your strengths and then build your weaknesses and just relate to everybody around them.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Why don't we just stay on this side of the room here? We'll go right here. Yeah.
My name is Mark Patterson. I'm a volunteer at Cornelius Fire. And leadership to me means that somebody that inspires trust, confidence, and somebody that you're willing to follow through anything,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I'm Steve Black. I'm a captain with Cornelius Fire, and I think everyone's a leader in their own regard, but it's to be a successful leader, I think you have to have a really strong character and really live up to the ethics and that have been developed by the organization, and then sacrifice for your people to get them to that same level as well.
Yeah, great point. The character stuff is huge, and we'll talk more about it. So, thank you. Right behind you.
I'm Thomas Schilling. I'm an intern firefighter at Cornelius, and I think leadership is basically setting an example that other people can emulate, and if you set the right example, you'll get the right kind of emulation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Nick Chan, Fort Grove volunteer lieutenant. Leadership is a group of skills. It's skills you acquire, life experience that you can apply in a group setting where you can command respect, command a fire ground or whatever position you're in. It's, anybody can be a leader, but to apply those skills and to apply them effectively.
Yeah. It's a great point. You know, I can talk to you about leadership today, and we can define all the characteristics of a great leader. That's easy for me to do. It's easy for us to say, but actually making it happen on a day-to-day basis, that's where the challenge begins. So thank you. Great. Let's go back here.
Luke Ortiz, volunteer firefighter. Leadership is inspiring others to do things they would not otherwise do on their own.
Ah, thank you. Thank you. Kind of like a coach? coach gets you to do something that you otherwise wouldn't do, or get you to work harder than you would have worked yourself? Great, thank you. All the way in the back there.
Slight open letter, non-combat at Forest Grove, and community leader is also someone who's able, I can relate to them, they don't act like they're so much better than me, and I feel like I can aspire to be like them.
That's a great word, humility, and it's something that I think we struggle with. I'm here to tell you today that we all have egos. I'm here today to tell you that we're all selfish, some of us more selfish than others, but humility, shrinking that ego, it's vitally important to be looked at as a leader. So great point, thank you. Right here.
Jason Lawson, volunteer lieutenant for both Cornelius and Forest Grove. I think a leader is a good mentor, and then to try to bring out the best in the people around you and have them work at their capabilities, because you try to bring them up with you, because your team's only as good as the leader.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Right next to
Fire Stanky, volunteer firefighter with Cornelius, and I think the leadership is someone who strives to have their team be better, who strives to have leaders in their own team. You know, someone that's there for, once again, your team in and out of the station. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Go right in front here. There you go.
Rick Hill, I'm a firefighter with Forest Grove, and I think leadership is kind of a skill set, traits, and having a disposition of helping the people above you, so, support them, helping the people below you, support them in a positive way, and having the ability to manage people that have different needs, making them better for it.
So you're leading up and you're leading down. Great, thank you. Here.
Keith Fox from Lieutenant. I think leadership involves meeting the goals of the team and trying to raise the level of the team as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's see, where are we at here? You guys want, how about right here? Yeah.
Bobby Edwards, firefighter, Forest Grove. I think a leader is someone you can look up to make the right decisions, and you may not know what the decision is to make at the time.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Adam Wiley, volunteer, Forest Grove. Leader is somebody who is looked up to, both on and off duty, not only for your team and ship, but everybody in the department or around you.
Okay. Thank you.
Cody Brown, volunteer firefighter with Forest Grove. I think a leader is someone who can take control of the situation, but also show guidance, both at work or just at life in the room.
Okay. Thank you. Good one. How about right here? The big guy.
I think a leader, Ty Augustine, Lieutenant Cornelius, a volunteer. I think a leader is all these great qualities, plus somebody that continues to learn and doesn't get complacent. Somebody that can take the criticism and just continue to build.
You guys are outstanding. You're just hitting on some great points. Being able to take criticism, it's huge. What do we tend to do when we hear critical comments and what have you? It tends to again hurt our ego a little bit, but you need to be able to dust yourself off and get back, and hopefully the people that are giving you that information are doing it for all the right reasons. But great point. Thank you.
Andy Grammer, volunteer, Forest Grove Fire. Pretty much all the stuff everyone else said, plus willing to work. Like if the job needs to get done, they're able to pitch in and help out and not have their egos so high that they're not going to.
Yeah, good work ethic. Yeah, shoulder to shoulder with their team. Yeah. Right here.
With Brown, speaking of leadership, is having the ability to inspire those around you to do their best and do their own decision.
Okay. Thank you.
Stephen Pritchard, Lieutenant, volunteer lieutenant with Forest Grove. Here again, there's been so many things that have been really well said that, I think having a moral character that people can look up to and strive to, even though it's pretty hard.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Yeah. Thank you. Let's see, right here.
My name is Victor, I'm a firefighter.
Okay.
Pretty much everything that everybody said. I think it also, a good leader, it's, basically inspires the best out of the people around them, and that includes personal life, not just at work.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the work stuff and the personal stuff, and I'm glad you brought that up. Right behind you. Yeah.
I'm Jeff Bate. I'm a firefighter with Forest Grove volunteer. I believe in treating people as you want to be treated, and setting an example on and off the ship by those we.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
I've been listening to all these things, and I kind of came up with, to me, leadership's an attitude. You know, ultimately it's an attitude, and a leader is a team builder. You know, leadership is basically building teams. And it's a person who sacrifices for their people. It also understands there's two parts of being a leader. There's leadership and there's followership, and being able to integrate those at the right time is important.
Yeah, well said. Thank you.
Pat Johnston, Fire Inspector. Leadership is something that is guidance, both on and off the job, traits. That's about it.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
I'm glad to hear you guys saying on and off the job, because it's real important. Your chief will you'll keep him up awake at night with the things that can go on off duty. Can any of us run into problems off duty? Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny how something will happen to a firefighter and everybody will kind of look down their nose at him, and I'll think, you know, I've been there. That could have been me. We had one of our very, very good firefighters with Portland get a DUI. And I have to tell you, if I got one of those every time I deserved it, I'd be incarcerated right now. But it was funny how he found himself in that situation, and it was amazing to me the reaction of some of the other people. So, interesting. Okay.
Mark Reckman, Captain of Cornelius. I think one of the biggest things in leadership is inspiring your crew to be better.
Yeah.
Building.
Yeah. Okay. So we got two left here. Is that it? You guys got the tough job. The last two to go. Go ahead.
Volunteer at Cornelius. I think a leader is someone who's rely on, and leadership, someone who's going to help the younger generation to less experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Danny Wilcois, volunteer firefighter at Cornelius. In summation, a leadership has aspects of everything that most people have brought forth today. I've been thinking about the perfect word to wrap it all up, but I think I have a much better person here who can teach us all about leadership.
Oh, okay, good, okay. Boom. Thank you. You know what's interesting is I hear you, obviously you guys have given this some thought and read about leadership or taken leadership classes. I'm from a large organization, and we have operational guidelines, we have rules and regulations, we have general orders, we have reams of policies and procedures. Do you know how many books we have on supervision and leadership? Zero. And so it's nice to see that you guys understand the concepts. And I can tell you, and what we'll learn today is, leadership's nothing sexy, it's nothing tricky. It's all these basic things that you guys have talked about. I've taught classes before where people have said it's getting people to do things and having them think it's their idea. There's no trickery. There's no trickery at all. It's who you are as a person. And we'll talk more about that as we move through the presentation. Can any of these things be appointed, awarded, promoted? Can I give them to you? Is it like the flu? I've got it and I can give it to you? No, not at all. How many officers in the room? Okay. If I asked your subordinates, would they tell me that some of the things that you just explained to me are what they're experiencing with you?
Yes.
So yes, absolutely, yeah. Again, if you've had experiences with your people that you're not proud of, or that you look back and you say, I could have done something differently, the fact that you're looking back and saying I could have done something differently is a great start. Knowing that you don't know is the first step to knowledge. The people that concern me are the ones that don't know that they don't know. So if you understand that you've got some room for improvement, the beauty of leadership is that tomorrow's a new day. And you can start being the person that you need to be starting tomorrow. Leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. All of those things that you just mentioned to me give you the ability to influence your people in a positive way, to influence your organization in a positive way. Your ability to influence the people underneath you. Somebody mentioned over here being able to lead up. Can we lead up? Absolutely. Can we lead across? Absolutely. You can lead in any direction that you want. Why is it important? Anybody?
Can't function without it.
Controls the chaos.
Controls the chaos. Can't function without it. It's vital.
Good leadership keeps the ball, keeps the flywheel rolling.
Keeps it all going. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's vital because the fact of the matter is it determines your ceiling. That's your level of effectiveness. How many people know of people that are technically very competent, understand the policies and the procedures, but don't have the human skills to pull it off? Yeah, hopefully you're not talking about the person sitting next to you. We've got those people too. Yeah, sorry, Chief. We've got those people too. And you know what? Again, if that individual understands that leadership is not their strength, then that's a great day. Because again, they can start improving on the things that they need to improve upon. Single most important ingredient to your success. Single most important ingredient. We teach you about the fire ground, we teach you about hazmat, we teach you about MCI, we teach you about confined space, we teach you about every other thing involving emergency response, but we give you nothing in terms of leadership. And I want to say to your chief and to his staff, thank you for inviting me to be here because I think this is vitally important. Okay, so you guys mentioned qualities of a leader, and these are the things that I came up with. And again, I wasn't trying to be all-inclusive, I just wanted to list some things that I thought were important. Which one's the most important?
Integrity.
You know, John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors, and he says that character makes trust possible, and trust makes leadership possible. So again, if you've got somebody that's technically competent, you actually enjoy working with them, but they don't necessarily possess the character that you look up to, that again, that individual is going to have that ceiling set at that height. And again, character is one of those things that we demonstrate day in and day out. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you work out straight for a month, you take a week off, you come back in, and it's like, gee, many Christmas, what happened? You know as well as I do is that you can ruin your leadership, or you can ruin your reputation, or you can ruin things that you've worked really hard for in a very short period of time. There's a measurement of the leader, the acid test, if you will. How many other people are you helping to be successful? I read this a long time ago, and I told people that I worked with, I had some success with the promotional process, and I said, hey, anybody that wants some of my time, I will spend time with you, helping you prepare for your assessment center or for your promotional. And I'm here to tell you, don't ever do that. My phone is rang off the hook. Anyway, I took this to heart. But let me ask you guys, what kind of relationship, what kind of support do you provide for that person that helped you to succeed? What kind of support and relationship do you have with somebody when they believe in you before you believe in yourself, when they help you to accomplish your goals? And the same is true for the subordinates that you will supervise. Help them reach their goals. Leadership is a disposition. I love it when you sit around the coffee table and you listen to firefighters talk about the lack of leadership at the top of the organization. Now, I know none of you ever do anything like that, but leadership, and I have to tell you that I think I'm guilty of this as well. When I thought about leadership, I thought about the top of the organization. I thought that it's up at the top, and there's nothing further from the truth. The fact of the matter is, we're all leaders. You guys mentioned off-duty, on-duty, firefighters are leaders. We've got firefighters in our organization. We have an individual, Pete Straub, who drives engine 14. You could eat off the floor of engine 14. He's a leader. I can tell you that some of the greatest improvements that have been made to our organization, with no disrespect, Chief, didn't come from our chief officers, came from our firefighters, came from our captains, came from our lieutenants. Leadership is at every level in the organization. And so it's not fair for us to point our finger up and say we don't have appropriate leadership, because the fact of the matter is we're all responsible for it. Sorry. Okay, we'll talk about some leadership myths. I can't lead, I'm not in a leadership position, and my boss is average at best. Again, can you lead? Can you still lead? Absolutely. And somebody already mentioned it here. Oh, dang it. Previous. We're going backwards now.
It's hitting the arrow in the lower left-hand corner.
Arrow in the lower left-hand corner. Let me ask you guys also, how many of us are all of these things? All the time. Again, it's easy to say. It's incredibly challenging to do. I can tell you that I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I'm going to be Dad of the Year today. And I put my head down on my pillow and I think there is absolutely no reason that I should be allowed to supervise a child. None. I yelled at my daughter. I barked at my son. They didn't deserve it. But again, parenting and leadership, the parallels are amazing. Again, tomorrow's a new day. The other thing that's interesting, and again, we talk about our lack of knowledge about leadership. My wife came to me and said, they're offering parenting classes at the grade school. And I've got 3 small kids at the time. She said, I'd really like to go. I said, honey, I do not want to go down to the grade school and take those classes. She says, it's 1 night a week for 6 weeks. I said, I don't want to go, and in fact, I'm not going to go. So while I was sitting in the class, they gave examples. They gave examples of what not to do. And 50% of the time, guess who they were talking about? Me. And I thought, you know what? We don't know that we don't know. And supervision is the same. It's so critically important. Again, you guys and what you've commented on thus far, you know what the target is. You know what you're supposed to be doing. The important thing is that you make every effort to reach those goals, to be that person that you're supposed to be, and hopefully you're surrounded by people that have the ability to tell you when you're not hitting the mark. Okay, here we go again. Okay.
Go back and do the end. You hit that other arrow. There you go. Is that right?
Yeah. This is leadership. It's at every level of the organization. These are people that are contributing to your organization. These are people that are positively influencing your organization. This is leadership. And again, it's very difficult for me to hear people talk about somebody else's lack of leadership. There's a saying that says there is no tree so foolish that the branches would attack the trunk. And we sit around the coffee tables in fire stations and we attack our own organization and we tear it apart and we badmouth our chief. Nobody in here, chief, but other people that I know. We talk about the things that we're doing and not doing. Again, is that what a leader does? I have to tell you that I've gone to work some days, I get in my truck to go home, and I think, I did a good job today. I did a good job on the fire ground today, I did a good job with people, I was able to deal with the situation, minimize it, and then again, there's days where I get in my truck and I say, I should not be allowed to be in a supervisory position. As a chief officer, you walk into the fire station and firefighters are complaining about something. And I really have one of two options. I can either participate. Do I participate sometimes? Yeah, I do. Do you guys participate sometimes? Yeah. You get on board. You throw fuel on the fire. But it's amazing what happens when I start looking at the positive things. I literally can turn the whole environment around. And again, I'm not saying I'm going in there and disregarding their concerns, because obviously there are times when they have legitimate concerns. But again, as a leader, are you going to jump on board or are you going to take the high road? Very difficult to do. Here's the other thing I learned about leadership. I used to think that firefighter safety and emergency response was over here and leadership was over here. So you could go take emergency operations, strategy and tactics, incident command, and then over here was the leadership stuff. I can tell you that they're directly connected. If you have firefighters that are committed, if you have firefighters that have personal character, if you have firefighters with integrity, they lead by example, do you have firefighter safety? Absolutely. And if you don't, then you don't. In 2013, you can go take a class at FDIC. How many of you are familiar with the Super Sofa fire? Okay. South Carolina lost 9. They should have lost more, like 12 or 15, if you read the report. Very unfortunate. And I don't know if you can read that or not. I'll read it to you if you don't mind. The instructor relates how this tragedy has changed the department forever and caused a transition from operating with outdated, unsafe practices to a department leading the way in education and training on a national level. The instructor explains how improper leadership, education, and organizational culture led to this senseless tragedy. This event is reflected in the changes seen in almost every operation the department performs. Among the changes addressed are new hiring criteria, fair promotional policies based on performance, not popularity, and the development of many training programs. Again, if I can do one thing for you today, I want to draw the correlation between firefighter safety and leadership. Okay, so what does success look like to you? So if I say you're a leader or you're a good supervisor, when will you know you're hitting the mark? When will you know that you're doing the job the way that you intended to do it and the way that you can be proud of? When will you know?
I think the mark's always changing, so it's always moving and there's always change, so I don't think you can ever really truly hit the mark.
You're right, you're right. Are we changing rapidly right now? I got to tell you folks, when we write a policy, it comes out of the copier, the ink isn't even dry, and we're making alterations to it. We're changing faster than we ever have, and it's extremely difficult to stay up with the changes. But you're right, it's constantly changing, no question. But I think there's a time when you can tell if you're hitting the mark or not. You raised your hand here.
When the people below you are training the people below them.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Because your job is to train your replacement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are we doing that in the fire service as well as we can? I don't think so. What you're talking about there is succession leadership. When I come to a fire station and I'm there witnessing the behavior and the training and the ups and downs and all arounds of the group that's there, and they are conducting themselves the way that I would like, and they're working hard and they're doing all the things that I want, that's important to me. But what's even more important is, do they continue to do that when I'm not there? Do they continue to perform at the level that you've trained them to when you're not present? In fact, they're taking what you've taught them and they're pushing it down to other people. Great point, thank you. Here's what it is for me. You're respected and trusted by the people above you, your colleagues, the people at your level, and the people beneath you. Do we have people that are really good at keeping the chiefs happy, but don't do a very good job of taking care of their people? Yeah. Do we have people that, to a fault, defend their people, but don't take into consideration the concerns of the chief officers? Yes. It's a balance. It's being able to respect and take care of those people that you're there to represent and supervise. It's also the ability to be respected by the people above you, and also your colleagues, the people at your level. When you come on the radio and key the mic on the fire ground, do people respect what you have to say? Do they see your comments and your thoughts as valid? And I can tell you, as a chief officer, there are certain individuals, when they key the mic and they talk, I pay very close attention to what they say. We have a ton of great leaders in our organization. We have a ton of battalion chiefs that are company officers. They just haven't chosen to take the promotional process. We have some outstanding officers that if I have a fire in my home, they're the people I want showing up on the front doorstep. So again, it's about me as a chief officer using their talents, using their skills, giving them everything that they need. Can it be learned? Can it be learned? That's why we're here. You're exactly right. It can be learned. I'm here to tell you that there's people that are going to take the classes and read the books and they don't stand a chance. They're just not going to pull it off. But I think for most of you, you can improve. And what I would propose that you do is to take the good leaders and make them great. Take the people, you mentioned training your people. Let's find the people, let's identify the people that have the qualities that we're looking for. They're already good leaders, and let's make them great leaders. Let's get them additional training. You know, it's funny, we talk about all the different things that you guys are responsible for emergency response. List some of them. You got, obviously, structural firefighting. What else do we got? EMS. EMS. Wildland.
Public servant.
Public servant. Hazmat. Confined space, dive, trench, rope. There are more topics and categories in leadership than there is in emergency response. Team building, implementing change, employee counseling. I can go on and on and on, and every one of them is a topic that you can learn about that will make you better at your job. We learn about all the emergency response stuff, but we don't learn the other stuff. We don't learn the leadership stuff. There's no greater return on your investment than the time you'll put into your people. The more time you put into your people, the more sincere effort that you put into respecting them and helping them succeed, you're going to get it back tenfold. Tenfold. When I get to the top, I'll learn to lead. So let's apply this analogy, because this is what we're doing right now. This is what we're doing right now in the fire service. You were sitting backwards, now you're sitting frontwards, now we're going to teach you how to be a company officer. So let's apply that to being an architect. Let's apply that to being a carpenter. Let's apply that to being a welder. We're not going to be in business very long. How do we develop our leadership skills? And here's what we're all going to have to do. This is step one. You have to get right with that person you brush your teeth with every morning. And I have to tell you that I've looked in the mirror and sometimes don't like the person staring back at me. We all have our stuff. We're all messy. Okay? None of us are perfect. We've got our personal stuff, we've got our fears, we've got our insecurities, we've got all the stuff, and everybody's got their stuff. In fact, if we all take our stuff and we set it out here in the middle of the room, the good thing is there's a good chance you'll go pick up your own stuff because somebody else's is worse than yours. You got to get right with that person you brush your teeth with in the morning, because that person and how you see that person is how you're going to see everybody else that you work with. That's how you're going to see all the people that you interact with on a daily basis. If you've got burdens and insecurities and fears, does that affect your ability to interact with other people? Absolutely. And again, I'm not saying this. I got my stuff, you got your stuff. The key is to get it right. Work on you. Once you've got that figured out, or at least improved, then that helps us to see the other things, see the other people, evaluate situations accurately. Do we have people that have issues that prevent them from seeing things the way that the normal person would see them? Do we have people that have insecurities that all of a sudden somebody makes a comment and all of a sudden it's a big deal? It really has that's that person right there. It really has nothing to do with what you said or didn't say. It has everything to do with that individual. So again, get right with that person in the mirror. That person in the mirror is your greatest advocate, your best friend, and your worst enemy. Is human behavior important? Yes. And one of the nice things about leadership is it doesn't just teach you about being a good firefighter. It doesn't just teach you about being a good company officer. In fact, it teaches you something vitally important, which is to be a good person. That's the beauty of leadership. I can tell you I'm a better supervisor, I'm a better person, I'm a better dad, I'm a better husband because of leadership. I read the book and I go, I wish they were describing me, but they're not. Oh yeah, here I am. What not to do? When I look at dealing with people at work, unfortunately you don't want to have a circumstance at work, do something, and then read about what you shouldn't have done. Again, human behavior is very important. How about failures? We can have failures. Every one of us are going to have failures. I've got mine, you're going to have yours. And as I said, you don't become a great leader overnight. You don't look in the newspaper and they say an 8-pound, 6-ounce leader was born today. It takes work, it takes effort. So tell me this. Who can tell me their favorite leadership book or author?
Art of War.
Art of War? Thank you. Anybody else?
First in, last out.
First in, last out. Okay.
Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin.
What is it?
Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin.
Excellent. I have to tell you, this is 3 more than I usually hear. And I'm not saying that to be critical. Again, we just don't give people the information that they need. If you pursue leadership and you pursue books about leadership, it's because you took it upon yourself to do it. It wasn't because your organization said, listen, about 90% of what you do is going to be dealing with people, so we're going to have you read this book. Luckily, you work for an organization that recognizes the importance of it, and they're making an attempt to get you some training and some leadership. Getting real. Somebody mentioned humility. Is being real important?
Yeah.
See, when I got promoted, I thought the last thing in the world I wanted to do was let anybody know that I didn't know. And I have to tell you, sometimes we almost have to get out of our own way because we have these thoughts. We don't want them to I was a young lieutenant, I was a young captain, I was a young battalion chief, and the last thing I wanted these guys to know is that I didn't know. So what do? You fake it. Or it wasn't my fault. Or sun was in my eyes. Or whatever other excuse you could come up with. Let me read something to you here. One of the worst things leaders can do is expend energy on trying to make others think they're perfect. That's true whether the leader is a CEO or functioning in the middle of the organization. It's a crock. The closest to perfection people ever come is when they write their resume. Since nobody is perfect, not you, not your peers, not your boss, We need to quit pretending. People who are real, who are genuine concerning their weaknesses as well as their strengths, draw others to them. They engender trust. They're approachable, and they are a breath of fresh air in an environment where others are scrambling to reach the top. Okay? Now, has anybody else ever had that feeling that they didn't want anybody to know they didn't know? Do you remember what happened when you were a new firefighter and the lieutenant said, "Hey, I wanted to get your opinion," or "What do you think about this?" It was something you wanted to hear. But unfortunately, we get promoted to lieutenants and captains and we forget what that felt like when the supervisor or the boss asked for your opinion or asked for your help. And I'm not saying you need to go around talking about all your weaknesses. But the fact of the matter is, you've got them, I've got them. Be real about them. Admit your faults. Ask for advice. Are we good at admitting our faults? No. No, because we've got this thing called ego, and it gets in the way. Worry less about what others think. Reputation versus integrity. Is your reputation important? Yeah. If you had a choice between reputation or integrity, which one would you pick? Having a good reputation is like having gold. Integrity is like owning the mine. And if you have good integrity, the reputation is going to take care of itself. Be open to learning from others. Put away your pride and pretense. Again, real people bring joy to others. Strength-based leadership. I was reading about CEOs. They run billion-dollar corporations. And it was interesting that CEOs are good at one aspect of their job. One. Steve Jobs. He's a visionary. He's horrible with people. They kicked him out of his own company, for crying out loud. They're good at one aspect of their job. They're either a visionary. Some people are very charismatic. They can get people to follow them. Some people, they know the numbers. When you're talking big business, you need to have somebody that knows the numbers. You need to know somebody that can run the books. And again, when you look at CEOs, they're not good at everything. They're good at one aspect of their job. What do? They surround themselves with people that are talented and good at the things that they're not good at. What do we tend to do in public sector? What do we tend to do in the fire department? Do we surround ourselves with the people that are just like us? I hope your organization doesn't, but I've seen many organizations that do. They surround themselves with people that think just like they do. It's interesting, in the private sector, 50% of all products that come to market fall grossly short of their intended target. So in the private sector, your name? Tommy brings this new gizmo in and he says, "Look at this. This is going to sweep the market. It's the greatest thing in the world." And you know what we do? We rip it apart. We don't attack Tommy, but we approach it from every conceivable angle. And we try and find every fault with it that we can, so that when it goes to market, it's successful. Again, we're not attacking Tommy, we're attacking this product. When you sit in meetings in the fire service, what happens if you challenge or disagree with the person that sits at the top? What happens if you say, "I disagree, and here are my thoughts"? And again, good organizations allow people to speak their mind. Obviously in a respectful manner. But what we need to do in public sector is learn from private. Let's not attack the individual, but let's attack the topic. Let's look at this thing from every conceivable angle. What we tend to do is say, "Hey, if Tommy here agrees with me, Tommy's okay. If he disagrees with me, well, I'll find another Tommy." How many of you have heard of Roy Disney? Okay? You've heard of Walt Disney. He's impacted probably every one of our lives, and if he hasn't already, he will soon, if you have children. Roy was his brother, and Roy was the money man. Walt Disney and Disneyland and everything that you see probably would not be what it is today without Roy. But many people have never heard his name. Again, he was the money man. Walt Disney was a visionary. He was a little kid and he went to the amusement park and he saw the carousel and he runs up to the carousel. He sees it from far away. He runs up to the carousel and he notices as he gets up to the carousel, the paint's faded and cracked and the horse is missing an eye. And he's like 10 years old and he says, you know, someday I'm going to own an amusement park where the carousel's as nice up close as it is far away. I think he accomplished that goal. Again, Steve Jobs, horrible with people. Horrible with people. The universal fear. Are any of you thinking someday that somebody's going to find out that it's just you? You got CEOs that run billion-dollar corporations that are thinking at some point somebody's going to kick the door open and go, it's just you, the pimple-faced kid from Massachusetts. You're no fire god. You're nothing special. We all have that fear that someday somebody's going to find out that it's just us. Here's what I hope for you. See yourself as a leader that doesn't have all the answers, but someone who will use their skills and the skills of their coworkers to meet the responsibilities of their position. 5 levels of leadership. Follow me because you have to. Follow me because I have the authority over you. And here's the acid test for leadership. If I took away your bars, if I took away your bugles, would you still be the leader? Don't rely on that authority. I'm not saying that there doesn't come a time where you have to rely on that authority. There are some people in our organizations that you have to use that authority. It's just the only way that they're going to listen or that it's going to work. But don't rely on it first. That should be your last. Again, when people get promoted to lieutenant, they have subordinates, and those subordinates follow them because that's what the organization says they're going to do. We're a paramilitary organization, and I think it's a blessing, and I think it's a curse. It's paramilitary, and that's awesome. That's why the fire ground operates the way that it does. That's why people do things without questioning. They act immediately. But some people rely on this too much. Then you've got permission. People follow you because they want to. People follow you because of what you've done for the organization. They follow you because of what